Hello everyone, my name is Roxanne Ratcliff and I'm the Diversity, Inclusion and CR Manager here at Burgess Salmon. And today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Simon Houghton, who is, amongst many other skills, a campaigner for deaf awareness. And he helps organisations and their staff better understand how to communicate with those who are deaf and hard of hearing, and has also set up a fantastic campaign called We Support Deaf Awareness, which is well worth looking up. Simon recently came into Burgess Salmon and delivered a brilliant learning session for our people, covering lots of different topics around deaf awareness, such as what it's like to be deaf and the challenges that deaf people can face when interacting with common services and society as well. So welcome, Simon.
Thank you very much. Roxy, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really pleased to be here.
Fantastic. So what I wanted to ask you today, Simon, was just perhaps for a few simple tips on how better to communicate with those who are deaf or hard of hearing. The audience for these videos quite often might be individuals who work in all different sorts of businesses and organisations. They might be interacting with customers. They might be thinking about how they can better interact with their colleagues or their employees. So are there a few simple tips that we can all be thinking about as to how better to have those interactions?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the biggest challenges that people will have is that deafness is a hidden disability. So you don't realise that I'm deaf. You know, I'm not wearing my hearing aids, but unless I'm wearing my hearing aids, you won't necessarily see. And even if I've got long hair, you wouldn't necessarily see that I'm deaf. So that's the biggest challenge in itself. But if you do you find out that a colleague or a visitor who comes to the office and say, yeah, I have a hearing impairment or I'm deaf, then the first thing you can do, the best thing I think you can do, is just to simply ask the person, how can I best communicate with you? So what you're doing is you're empowering that individual who's never been asked that question before, but they're being empowered to sort of say, oh, well, I've got control. It might be, can you have someone who signs, an interpreter? It might be, do you have a whiteboard that I can write my questions down and you can write your answers down? It might be, as long as I can see your lips, I can lip read, will be fine. Or it might be, my hearing aids are working fine, not a problem. But asking them, that's probably the first thing I would say. More practically, in terms of when you're interacting with someone, either on a video call like this or face-to-face, I think there's two quick things you can do. The first thing is, I call it hands off. Okay, so when you are talking to that person, try not to be playing with your face or your beard, or if you've got a mug and you're talking to somebody, try not to do that, because that blocks their face. Not everyone can lip read, but a large number of people, I was born deaf, for example, so I've been lip reading all my life. A large number of people do lip read, or even if they don't realise it, they rely on lip reading to a degree to help them fill in the gaps of what they can't hear. That's the first one. So that is, make sure you've got your hands off, try and keep them away from your face. And then the second thing, or third tip if you like, is face on. So if you are lip reading, or if you're talking to somebody, if you're facing them directly, it's so much easier for someone to hear. Not only does the sound travel in their direction, but also if they do have to lip read, then they can see that. If I turn away, then the person who's deaf can only see half of your face, and the sound is going in a different direction, so it'll be harder for that person. So those are the three, I think, quick tips. The first one, ask them, how can I better communicate with you? Secondly, make sure your hands are away from your face. And thirdly, make sure you're facing that person. If you need to use a computer, or if it was a barman, for example, and they're taking an order from drinks from somebody at the bar, the till might be behind them. If you have to move away so that you're facing off somewhere, make sure you ask the person, just let them know what you're going to do. So I'm just going to use the computer and I'll come back straight away. So do that, then come back, then carry on the conversation that way. So they know to stop. So those are three tips I think I would definitely ask. Definitely go for your viewers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Simon. And that's just a little insight into all of the great content that Simon delivered to us in our learning session internally. And it was really useful for our people, I think, to understand, how best to kind of set up those conversations, how best to support someone else, and also just to understand some of the kind of the day-to-day challenges, but also the opportunities that we have to be able to interact better. And I think lots of those tips also can translate across to helping people with different impairments as well. It's having that just sort of conscious understanding about asking how people want to be communicated with, and kind of being proactive in that sense. So as I said, Simon came into Burgess Salmon to deliver a learning session for us, which we really highly recommend. He was fantastic in that session, and you can find Simon either through his campaign, which is We Support Deaf Awareness, and via LinkedIn, or you can go to his website, which is wesupportdeafawareness.org, and find out a bit more about the campaign there as well. So the last thing I need to do is just say thank you so much, Simon, and we look forward to working you on with other projects in the future. So thank you.
Thanks very much for the invitation. Cheers.